Truth about AI in mass spectrometry labs. Hype versus reality. 6 months into drug program, a client's analyst flagged something in their HRMS data that hadn't been there the day before. Same instrument, same method, different result. No one could agree on whether it was a real peak or noise. That disagreement cost them 11 days and pushed their timeline into a quarter they hadn't budgeted for. Hello, I'm Raghuveer Singh, Pharma, Director Scientific Affairs at High-Resolution Mass Laboratories, where we run HRMS workflows for pharma and biotech teams working across IND and ANDA programs. Why HRMS labs need AI? Here is what those 11 days were really about. HRMS doesn't generate data, it generates millions of data points across the run, per compound, per analysis session. And somewhere in that volume, the answers your program needs are buried. Manual review isn't just slow, it's inconsistent. Two experienced analysts can look at the same spectral output and reach the different conclusions. Not because either is incompetent, but because mass spectrometry interpretation carries human judgment that no SOP fully annihilates. AI changes that calculus, not by replacing the analyst, but by compressing the time between raw acquisition and decision-ready insight. Pattern recognition at this scale is simply beyond what manual workflows can reliably sustain. The biggest AI benefits. So what does that compression look like in practice? Three things: consistently automated peak detection that removes subjective calls from routine identification tasks, analyst to analyst consistency that holds even when your team expands or turns over mid-program, and faster compound identification that frees your scientists from excavation and returns them to interpretation. The downstream effects are real. Less reanalysis, fewer workflow delays, and when data volumes scale between phase 1 and phase 2, cloud-based systems that grow with your program rather than constrain it. What AI actually does in labs? Let's be precise about the mechanics, because this is where marketing language obscures more than it reveals. AI in an HRMS context does a handful of specific things well. It detects patterns in the spectral data that would take a trained analyst hours to surface. It filters noise from the raw signals, reducing false positives that drive unnecessary reanalysis cycles. It predicts likely molecular structures from fragmentation patterns. It flags low quality results before they enter your data package. And in modern platforms, it supports real-time validation, so a bad run doesn't pass quietly through your pipeline and resurface during an inspection. These are not hypothetical capabilities, they are in use today. The reality behind the hype. And yet the gap between what AI can do and what it will do for your specific lab is real, and it deserves honest acknowledgement. We worked with a mid-sized biotech that had invested in an AI-enabled HRMS platform. 18 months later, their analysts were still manually reviewing a significant portion of outputs. The AI was running, the AI was technically correct, but no one had built the validation bridge between the algorithm's conclusions and their existing SOPs. The platform was producing results that their regulatory submissions weren't structured to receive. That gap, between AI performance and an AI integration is where most implementation stories quietly collapse. The integration challenges pharma labs face aren't primarily technical, they are procedural and organizational. Legacy instruments weren't designed with AI middleware in mind. Data formats don't always align, and critically, the people responsible for your submissions need to understand what the AI concluded and why, not simply accept its output as authoritative. If your QA team can't explain a flagged result to an FDA inspector, the algorithm's accuracy is irrelevant. The integration problem is a scientific and regulatory problem, and treating it as an IT problem is how programs lose months they didn't plan to lose. The integration problem is a scientific and regulatory problem, and treating it as an IT problem is how programs lose months they didn't plan to lose. AI and regulatory compliance. Regulatory compliance is where AI either earns its place or exposes its weaknesses. Audit trails that capture every algorithmic action, not just output but logic chain behind them. Encrypted systems that protect data with patient adjacent sensitivity. Quality scores that quantify analytical confidence rather than leaving it implied by a passing flag. These aren't supplementary features, they are the scaffolding that makes AI-generated analytical insights submissible. At Resolve Mass Laboratories, we have found that building compliance architecture before the analytical workflow, not alongside it or nor after it, is this separates programs that move smoothly through review from programs that receive queries at the worst possible moment. The future of AI-driven HRMS. Where is this heading? Predictive insights that guide compound prioritization before you have finished characterization. Instrument diagnostics that anticipate maintenance windows rather than responding to failures that interrupt a scheduled run. Digital twins that let your team stress test a workflow computationally before committing analytical resources. Labs that operate proactively, not as an aspiration but as daily baseline. The investments being made now in an AI-enabled HRMS are setting the competitive floor for where small and mid-sized programs need to be within 5 years. The question isn't whether this technology matters, it's whether your implementation strategy can keep pace with your regulatory requirements or not. 3 things worth carrying out this conversation. AI addresses specific real bottlenecks in HRMS data workflows, but only when the integration is treated as a scientific and regulatory problem from day one. Human expertise doesn't diminish in an AI-enabled lab, it elevates because your scientists spend their judgment on a decision that genuinely required it. And compliance isn't a downstream consideration, it's a condition under which AI delivers any value at all. If your program is at a stage where HRMS throughput, data quality, or submission readiness is under pressure, we would welcome the conversation. Please reach out to us at Resolve Mass Laboratories and we'll have a conversation. Thank you so much for watching this session and see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye for now.